Okay, so follow through momentum practices. This inspiration came from one of our conscious leadership accelerator sessions where I mentioned that I haven't missed a day of using the journaling practice since we began in August of 2023. And then in the chats, I noticed there were responses to the effect they wanted to be just, folks wanted to be just like me, which really took me by surprise. So today, celebrating 10 years after cancer, to be alive, to live, to give, and receive love, as we've been made aware of Danny Friedland's motto there, to give and receive love. So today I've received a lot of love from my friends with the day I'm celebrating today, and I appreciate the time to provide provide something of giving out in the world to you and to extend beyond ourselves. So, second chance story. So, getting on with my acting on my inspiration. So, after having cancer, having feeling like I have a second chance, coming to a greater and greater focus and being of service in my life, and then setting aside space to create. So, in terms of follow through, I recognize we need to have default time blocks. And those of us sharing here, I'm sure you probably have some default time blocks for you. Certain times you do certain things. So let me share what I do in my default time blocks. So my evening routine, I fill out an index card with business and personal doings for the next day when I finish my day around 5. Okay, and yesterday we were talking about, Priscilla, I noticed your comment yesterday. It's all one, personal and business, it's all one. So I allow for something to come to focus in that respect at the end of my day. Start prepping for bedtime around 9 to 10, unless my favorite sports team, like Alabama's football team, if they're playing a late game, I'll stay up later, but it's unusual. So I'll start to prep for bedtime between 9 and 10. Evening before sleep, I'll fill out the conscious leadership evening clothes. And again, I've done that since August. And that highlights, again, those of us know that, it's our successes, our struggles, our learnings, intentions for the morrow. So those are that's the framework for our journal program, but I've added my own intention here. I add a prayer intention for the next day. Morning routine, brain tap. Now, I don't know if some of you know about brain tap. Brain tap is a technology that influences the body's sensory nervous system using binaural beats. And I use this first thing in the morning, every morning, to help really set you can say my nervous system, the hardware of my brain and nervous system. So my software of my mind can be, you can say, receptive for the day in a creative way. Then I'll look to do heart math with light exercise and go outside for a moment or so to get some morning sunshine. Maybe you're aware of that, how important morning sunshine is to actually activate our pineal gland, which in turn helps to activate our endocrine system, along with being barefooted, so a grounding hit at the same time. Then I look at my index card for what I have in mind professionally and personally, usually 3 for each. And the other side of the card, I write out a prayer intention for the day with a succinct inspirational quote on the bottom for ready reference as needed during the day. So I keep that card in my shirt pocket. And if something stressful comes up, I'll pull that out and look to see what inspirational quote I've had for that day. And then next I fill out the morning journal intention, the CLA morning journal intention that includes, as we know, how did I resource myself for the day? Gratitude for 3 aspects, review activities of the day, and then taking note of opportunities for conscious leadership for challenges or intensities that may arise. And that's been pretty good to actually have some forethought of what challenge that may arise with the things I want to do during that day. So that is helpful. So looking to stay in the flow during the day, this is a big thing I've emphasized in my sessions with the people that I serve, is the balance between activity and rest, our flow state. So what does it take to stay in our flow state during the day? And that relates to recognizing when we're over amping ourselves And if we are, how we can temper ourselves back into a flow state, almost like tuning a guitar string. And then if we're underamped, we feel like we're not doing enough, what does it take to actually tune up that string to get back into the flow state? But it all comes down to what's in our heart. And our heart, we need to have a compass in our heart. And that compass relates to one of our presencing practices in terms of plugging into purpose, what matters most. And having that kind of like just instilled, seated in our heart. So maybe we might not be thinking of it consciously, but it's there because there's a feeling, and you can say a ferment there that you start your day with, or you start your evening, your end your day with in the evening, so that you can continue to stay in that flow state presence, allowing, you can say, a certain harmony to occur, not only within yourself, but those that you're with in your world. So resourcing myself as needed with presencing practices. This is one that I've been exploring further, is checking my scale and exploring with right and left nostril, hard focus breathing as needed. So just like having a conscious intention, I don't know if you've explored this for yourself, but actually putting your conscious attention on your right nostril or your left nostril, and then having a sensing actually being able to breathe through those nostrils without actually having to hold it, and then focusing that breath through my heart is allowing for a certain tempering to stay in the flow state. So that's something I'm nuancing with and exploring with. I just share that as a advent of one of my practices. 15 to 30-minute daily reset as needed. So this is what I do when I start to feel spent during the day. So this is, I don't know if you've heard of chi machines. This is called the vitality swing. So I'll lie on my mat. I'll use something called this is the brain tap apparatus. I'll put this on my head, and machine cuts off at 15 minutes, and there's 15 minutes, 20-minute programs, 11-minute programs for brain tap, and I'll use that. And invariably within 15, 20 minutes, it feels like I've been regenerated to get back to work. So this has really been helpful for a daily reset as needed. And then in the morning, I'll do daily morning gamma entrainment. So if you're not familiar with brain waves, the gamma wave is helpful as a base brain wave to help stimulate and balance out all the other brain waves, but also adds help. It's helpful to creating insight, creative insight availability for our consciousness. And then weekly reset at the river. This is where I go. Usually I block off Friday afternoons as a time default, and I'll walk here at the river here in Atlanta, which I find very regenerating. And this is my weekly reset at the river. And then I carry a pencil and index cards on hand because invariably when I walk, it's just, there's a flow there. Maybe you've done this too, but a lot of my creative work for my classes comes during my times during this time where I'm not even just forcing anything. I just let my mind kind of just be open. And sure enough, I feel like creative thoughts come across for presentations like this. Of special note for follow through momentum. So these are some things I've noted for myself. Having a care on Friday and Saturday nights. And I notice if I go a little off track on Friday and Saturday nights, it kind of throws off the momentum for the rest of the week. So it's still having fun, but you know when you kind of overstep your boundaries, it takes you out of rhythm. And those 2 nights are important nights for the rest of the week, I've found. Waking up early enough before I start my professional day to resource myself. Care not to overeat the night before. I know I have challenges with this, but I know it helps if I don't. Care for lifestyle health habits. Supplement support for nitric oxide levels. I don't know if you're familiar with this too, but I found some support that supports nitric oxide levels. And this has been like a game changer in terms of energetic levels, breathing levels. You know, I take a supplement now called Nitric Oxide Foundation. And since I've been taking that, it feels like I've have a similar feeling as I did when I was younger playing sports. I mean, not to the intensity of being athletically trained, but actually gives me that sensing of actually being in being in shape, being able to breathe easy. And then if I feel like I'm getting low or sick or vulnerable, I'll go for a vitamin IV drip. And there's places here in town called VitaFlow or drip bars, and I find it very helpful. And then cold temperature hits. I know Adair talks about cold plunges. I don't really do that myself, but I'll put cold water on my face, which helps at times. Okay, now let me show you this. This is something I adapted from the work of Patrick Dominguez. And I think you might be able to see a framework like this to help you actually keep momentum. So when we're in reactive state and when we have more reactive experiences and you can say less resource ability there, we're not getting anywhere. Actually, we're spiraling downward. But if we're having equal reactive and resource creative, you can say, levels of activity experiences, we're not really getting anywhere. We're kind of just being neutral. And then if we catch ourselves, but if we actually begin to thicken the ability of how we resource ourselves, to presence ourselves, that greater than our reactive states that may come up, then we're making progress. And this gives us the momentum to follow through. So these are the things I wanted to share with you. So for a moment here, maybe we'll just bring that together with another meditation to help just take all that into what I've just shared with you. So we can again upright ourselves. You may want to close your eyes, just take a moment and just recognize I just went through a bit of what I found for follow through momentum practices. So we will just take a moment and you can just be still within yourself and see what may have impacted you while you're breathing in slow and out slower. So what struck you? What may have touched your heart or opened your mind? Breathing in and breathing out. What made sense to you? Okay. Okay, maybe you have something instilled in your hearts and maybe you want to maybe take a note for a second for a learning loop. What insight has been most useful to you?